flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Friday, January 26, 2018 at 9 a.m. at the Island View Restaurant, 35468 Tea Time Circle, Sebring, Florida. The annual landowners meeting is scheduled for Friday, January 26, 2018 at 9 a.m. at the Island View Restaurant, 35468 Tea Time Circle, Sebring, Florida. A special meeting of the Board of Supervisors for kitchen renovations is scheduled for Tuesday, January 30th, 2018 at 9 a.m. at the Island View Restaurant, 35468 Tea Time Circle, Sebring, Florida. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to accept.
Second.
We need a vote. Okay. I need a motion to accept the action agenda.
Motion to accept.
Second.
A resolution number 201801-12-01, a resolution of the Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve the recommendations of the Assessment Appeals Committee. And who would do that? Omar?
I would have Omar do it.
Yeah.
We need a motion. A motion?
Motion to
We need a motion, I'm sorry.
approve.
Second.
So the Assessment Appeal Committee did meet on December 15th. We had 18 appeals come in. A copy of the agenda is provided as supporting documentation. Out of the 18 appeals, 2 of them were approved. The rest were all denied. I provided some summaries. There was one on 4100 Harlando Avenue. The property owner has sent in a communication after the committee meeting requesting that we reassess the approval. On their appeal, they requested it for the 2018 tax assessments, and they're claiming it should have said 2017. They performed a unity of title on November 6th, which is after the November 1st deadline that we issue our assessments. We actually mail them out on October 13th. So based on that, management is recommending that we deny that request. They will get the unity of title discount beginning in 2018 as it was approved at the meeting. The other property is on 4504 Calatrava Avenue, and the property owner requested that they get reimbursed for the amount that they paid for the golf course assessment, and that was also approved to refund that amount. Is there any questions on any of the properties or any of the minutes?
Anybody got anything?
Nothing from me.
Candy, do you want to comment? No? Okay.
I don't have any comment.
Any public comment? Okay, because here it is.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Camp?
Yes.
Supervisor Siegel?
Yes.
Supervisor Branson?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Resolution number 2018-0112-02, a resolution of the Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to award the dog park project to Brooker Fence Company for $12,895. I think, is that you, Mike?
Need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion first, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve. Second.
Now, Mike.
Okay, yes, that's just the fence part of the project. The other part of the project is the concrete, which is $3,400. We also have
We also have residents that are donating money for the benches for inside the park. So hopefully we'll raise enough money for all the benches. I talked to Daniel this morning about she can get some prices on some jumps and things like that inside the dog park also. For kind of like a play area. But we're going to try to raise as much money through the district for things like that.
Anybody have any questions?
So, yeah, I do. We're approving for $12,895 plus the side, plus the fence and the sidewalks on this particular resolution. We're not approving any additional bench. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So the number that we're looking at is what's in this resolution. Okay. And how are you going to solicit people within the community for those additional pieces? Are you putting out a flyer or?
We're going to put something in the newsletter, but before we started the park, Wally was a big supporter in this when he was on the board. He had over 100 names that people wanted the dog park. So what we're going to do is we're going to contact everybody and see, because a lot of people said, oh, I'll donate. So we're going to start contacting those people as of this week. So, I mean, I've already contacted some people. Matter of fact, I think I got almost everybody on the board already for donations so far, except for Mark and Joe. But anyway, I'll hit you.
You never approached us.
Not yet. Not yet, I haven't. But we also have another $300 donated as of yesterday through residents too. So I don't feel that it's going to be a problem raising money for this dog park.
Well, let me make a suggestion. Instead of doing just a blind, I need some money type of thing, why don't you price out how many benches you want and whatever slides, whatever else you're thinking of, and divide it by whatever number you think is right, and you can go around to people and saying, hey, we'd love for you to donate. We're asking everybody for $25 or $30 or something like that.
I was working that already. She's got the numbers for that stuff, so we'll get on it. We want to make sure that the fence was approved before we start doing that.
Yeah, I'd like to have this finished, so when the gates are put up and the fence is put up, that we have everything else, so we can get it all done at once and let everybody enjoy it.
Okay.
Ray, yesterday Wally and I met. We talked to Mike. And Mike's going to get with what we need first before we go around. But Wally and I are going to go around and try to collect the money with Mike. But we asked Mike to get us what we need first.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, we can't share stuff like that, but
Right.
No,
that's already in the
We
works.
are working on it.
I do have one other question, if I may. I noted, there's a galvanized fence, 5 foot for $9,000, and we're doing the black fence for $12,895. I've seen pictures of galvanized fencing in dog parks. You can go online and look at them, and they don't look like anything that I'm embarrassed about. I just was wondering, perhaps we could save $3,000.
Well, we really wanted to kind of have it blend into the area over there. There's trees we have, and the other fences we have, there are some black vinyl fences. We want to try to stay within there. So, we're trying to stay so it doesn't, as you drive by, it kind of blends in. So that's why we did that way. Okay.
One other question. I do have one other question. And I had a conversation with Tanya, but I got called out of town yesterday, so I couldn't follow up on it. And it was in reference to whether they had been out literally at the site. And because there is a concern, at least they said that this is the cost associated here is based on not running into any roots and problems like that. They were out at the site?
Yes, all 3 companies actually came out to the site.
And-
they always tell you that when they put the fence in. The same thing with the building over there. They told us the same thing over there. So.
Okay. Just wanted to
Well,
reconfirm
we
it.
are going to work with them. We'll be doing some work in-house also over there, just to make it a little nicer. So we'll be there. So
Great.
I have no concerns on any of that.
It's going to be wonderful.
If this is approved, what timing are we looking at?
A couple months.
I mean, it'd be nice to get it into the newsletter and say, announce that it's coming for all the people that were interested in it in the first place. If you could put it in there and say,
Yeah, I've already talked to Tanoa about that. She's gonna do an article on that already, so.
okay.
So, and that'll be next month. And I'm not sure, when you're taking it in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, Dan, anything? Public comments?
Where's the park going to be?
Come on up here, man. Come up.
I love dogs.
Okay.
Dole.
After Charlie.
Charlie Shields, Sunrise, 2831 Sunrise Drive. How are you going to control entrance to this thing? Is it open to Sebring, Avon Park, anybody? It just walk in?
We aren't gonna have the gates locked or anything. Basically, it's open to the public.
Yeah, you can't,
That's my question.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
I mean, just so you know, Chuck, we are going to put at least a sign. We're going to have a sign up with rules and regulations,
Yes.
of what you can and what you can't do. That will be up, but as far as stopping people from Avon Park or anything like that, I don't think you can do it.
Ma'am, to answer your first quick...
Olga Garcia,
You ha-
5815 San Juan Drive.
Okay.
Where's the park going to be?
Edgewater Drive.
Okay. And when I've gone to dog parks, they break it up into two sections?
Yes.
One for little dogs and one for
Yep.
big dogs?
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yep.
Okay? There'll be two side-by-side fences, one for small, one for large. Anybody else?
Supervisor Camp?
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel?
Yes.
Supervisor Branson?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Resolution number 2018-0112-03, a resolution of the Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to award the bid for strategic planning services designated as RFP 17-11 to Global Golf Advisors Incorporated for $38,500. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
The district received one proposal from Global Golf Advisors related to the RFQ number 17-11 for strategic planning services. Global Golf is a consulting firm that specializes in a variety of golf club and related type services. The scope proposed here today is operational evaluation, market analysis, financial plan and planning, governance review, and communications, and then finally the strategic plan is the final product. The fee for all these services is $33,500, and the travel expenses will not exceed $5,000. So for a total of $38,500, management is recommending to perform the full scope of services outlined by Global Golf. And there is sufficient budget for this item today.
We have any questions up here?
No, this is just phase one of multiple phases.
Yeah.
It'll be an ongoing project every year, correct?
Depending on first, what Mr. Delozier will do for us is he'll do a needs assessment, and then he will create an implementation plan that could possibly be up to 5 years. He estimates that the cost of implementation is, and typically for organizations our size, is less than $50,000 a year.
Okay.
And he will perform a review with us on a yearly basis and actually physically, come here and kind of do a checkup for us.
Any public comment?
I would just,
Wait a minute.
if I can,
Oh, okay.
I would recommend, since there will be a cost, as soon as this thing is, if we were to accept it going forward, he's going to give us the plan. We look at it. If we think we want to implement it, there's going to be a cost associated with it, and that money is not budgeted. So what I would recommend is that we probably hold off on this until such time that when we receive the plan and we decide to implement it, we would have the money in the budget to go forward, as opposed to waiting 3 months or waiting 2 months. That's just a recommendation. Unless we can find 50,000 earlier.
Well, we have enough in the budget to actually perform the review and the strategic plan. That'll take about 3 months.
Right.
So going into the next budget cycle, which starts October 1, we can put monies in the budget at that time for implementation.
Right, but I would back up initially starting 3 months prior to October 1 then, so that when we have some continuity, so while we're on it, we keep going with it, as opposed to taking a break for 2 months, because there's no funds available. Am I explaining that right?
If I understand it correctly, he's just saying delay the actual start of the delay the start of the program so that Global Golf doesn't start immediately. They start maybe midsummer. They give us the plan, and then we will be ready to budget for the following year if we decide to go forward, and that way we'll keep it. There won't be a break of 6 months or so in between.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. If that's
So we would just delay the start of the contract.
That's what we agreed to, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we agreed to.
Pete, did you have something?
That's what I meant,
Pete DeLongchamp, live on Villa Bella. What are they doing for us? And if it's costs, what is it, $38,000?
38.5.
What are we going to benefit for that $38,000? What is it? What's the intention, to make us more money?
No, well, I can let Tanya explain it to you probably better than I can, but it's something we need as far as the future of Sun Lake, period, and the growth of it, Pete. And so, because us as a government entity, we make our money with the lots, and we have with the growth of what we want in the future, and hopefully our lots will be coming available soon, because that's how we make our money. We don't have, we don't rely on the restaurant here making an extra 5% to keep us afloat. That's part of Sun and Lake, this restaurant and this building. But our lifeblood is our lots and getting them ready. And so this is all has to do with, but Tanya maybe can explain it better than.
It's all about the marketing and the communication of Sun and Lake, and then once he has that in place for us with a strategic plan, then we can move forward. Our product here is golf, okay? The lots that President Gilpin is speaking of is owned by Highlands County, so we don't actually have an inventory. Let me take that back. The Highlands County is the largest landowner here in the district, but Delosier, and actually Jim is the one who brought Delosier here, and the biggest part of what he's going to be doing is a marketing and communications plan for the district and for our golf club.
And to specifically answer that, I would say if you look at his scope of services, he starts out with an operational evaluation to make sure that we fit into the metrics of other operations and that we're doing everything correctly. Moves into a market analysis to see how we fit in the market, where we would go, then gets into our financial planning to look at our capital planning going out 5 and 10 and 15 years, that lines up, with the direction that we're going. Then he'll review our governance, the effectiveness of how we can work together to carry this out. And then the communication plan, which is really based on, now that we've done the market analysis and figured out who we are and what we want to be, how do we communicate that, and how do we get people to come to Sun and Lake and make this their home? And then he'll tie that all together with a strategic plan. So those are the steps of what he'll do to give us a roadmap to go forward, so we are more cohesive in what we're trying to accomplish.
Any more public comment?
Good morning, Bill Norcross, resident of Pebble Beach Drive. Just a quick question on this global planning. It's probably a very, very good idea. The planning is strategically limited to 4 or 5 subjects, and I understand that. But what has happened prior to this? We've had financial planning, we've had advertising, we've had helicopters out here, we've had pictures. What kind of results have we actually had before? And I'm looking forward to, maybe this is a different and a better approach so that we can have some kind of substantial results, because we have dumped a lot of money out here on various schemes to advertise and get people here. So I think this plan, if it's a good one, I hope it works. Thank you.
So do we, Bill, but I can tell you, and there has been a lot of money spent, and I think we're all aware of that, but when we had the crash, and back in 2002, but right now, it got so bad after everything went down, that I think Tanya told me we have 27 lots. 27 lots we can sell. And that's how bad a shape that it's been the last 10 years. So Mr. Hanley is sitting behind you, and I think with the help of him from the county and us, we can start this. But this, again, if something crashes, we might be wasting some money. But I think Tanya told me we spent around $250,000 for something, and it didn't pan out.
Well, initially, that's what I thought it was, but
Yeah.
there's a company called the Kid Group or the Kid Company that they were hired before I started here at the district. The contract for services was $125,000, but there
Okay.
could have been additional costs that were associated with the implementation of that. Back in 2008, 2009, and prior to that, the district, we still have many lots that we own, and even back then we did, but back then they were marketable.
Yeah.
Okay? And what makes them not marketable anymore is because the liens are now higher than what the value of the properties are. So 22 to 27 is about where we are as far as marketable lots that we own, and that's it.
But we're all aware of that. up
So
here.
8 years ago, it was very different as far as,
Yep.
so now the county, is our largest lot owner here in the district.
And we have a meeting with Ron, I think January 23rd, Tanya and I, so,
January 23rd.
just so everybody knows, depression or whatever hit us hard, and we need, our lifeblood is these lots and getting stuff straightened out, and hopefully we're not wasting your money again, but something has to be done, and we have to market and promote the place and do stuff, because we're a special district. We're governed by Florida state laws, so just so you guys know, we're all working for this. Hopefully it won't be a big waste of money, and hopefully in a couple of years we can start getting some developers in here and starting to grow, which we need to do. Okay, Gary.
I'm Gary Lilly at 5001 Magnolia Place. I'm also the president of the HOA there. Frankly put, I'm concerned about the fact we've spent, and I can concur with these remarks, we spent a lot of money, and we don't seem to see the results of it. In Magnolia Place, we've had 5 new homeowners this year, and obviously some new lot owners. So we're seeing something there. We're making some moves there to try and improve our community. But the fact is, if you look at this thing over 5 years, it's another $200,000. And, and I think, we pay Billy Casper to run certain facilities here, and obviously they do it on a profit basis, but I really question whether 5 years down the road we're going to do that. We really need the banks to step up, I'll be honest with you. That's one of our biggest problems here, the banks in financing these properties and the buildings of such. They did very well during the collapse. The United States federal government sure stood up for them. But now the banks got their hands in their pockets, and they're not helping the developers here. Unless a homeowner here builds a new home, comes up with the cash, they're not building. And that's part of the damn problem. We need some golf villas here. But I really question, like Bill did previously, $200,000 expenditure, because I haven't seen much come out of what we've spent in the past. And I know where you're going, Mike, and the people here are here to support the board. You know that. We're part of you. We hang around with you guys all the time. We know where it's at. We really question this kind of expenditure with a management consulting group, because frankly put, sometimes the only thing they consult is their pocketbook.
Okay, Gary. Virgil? Thank you, Gary.
Virgil Elliott, Calatrava Avenue. I noticed on the makeup of the team, about 75 to 80% of it is out of the Toronto office. Are we focusing more to bring Canadians down here, or is it going to be everything?
I don't think so, because it's from the Phoenix office and the Toronto office, but they're both,
It's on your thing.
yeah.
Four out of
Yeah.
the six are out of the Toronto office, 2 out of Phoenix.
but they're all familiar with this, but maybe, Tanya, you can answer that. I don't think that they're,
There's not going to be a focus on
No.
Canadians
No.
necessarily, but Mr. Delozier is out of the Phoenix office. He's the one who'll be working directly with the district.
And I also noticed that there's a provision in there for follow-up seminars and stuff for either the board or whoever to make sure that we're hitting our benchmarks and the plan is working. And I think that's a good idea. But what happens if it's not working? Do they come in free of charge, or do they come in and charge us another $265 an hour? That's,
No, I mean, Verge, the price is kind of set. If it's not working, there's two options. You readjust the plan, or you end the plan.
yeah, we can end it.
I mean, that's, anybody in business would do that, you know. I mean, that's your options. If we go a year and we say, this is not working for us, we're not obligated for 5 years. We're obligated just at that point.
I understand that, but I guess what I'm asking is, if the plan's not working, will they adjust it free gratis
Yes.
so that way it maybe would work?
Yes. I believe the answer is yes. Is that right, Tanya? I don't believe there's a cost to adjust the plan as we're going forward. He's going to review it quarterly.
Not to my knowledge, there's just a cost for him to travel here and meet with us on a yearly basis, but I'm not aware of any other further costs for adjustments.
You know, and do keep in mind one thing, guys. Mike's talking about the lots and all that, but you need people to buy the lots. That's what this whole thing, in my opinion, is about, is attracting people to Sun and Lake. Without the people, you can have 100 lots. It doesn't matter.
Cliff?
Cliff Wood, 2500 Island Drive. Some of you may recall that a year or so ago I addressed the board on the issues of the 4 Ps of marketing, which are the product itself, how you sell the product, how you price the product, and how you promote the product. To have a successful marketing program, you have to put the elements of those 4 Ps together that create an attractive value for the prospect. We have a great product. The physical facilities for the demographic that we can reasonably expect to attract are terrific. And the clubhouse atmosphere and the ambiance, the lifestyle that we enjoy at Sun and Lake is also a major attraction or attractive point to anybody that comes here and takes a serious look. Our problem is attracting people. That's the role of the promotion aspect of the 4 Ps. We took a stab at this back in late 2007, 2008. It's a frequent complaint around here that we blew a lot of money and nothing happened. The fact is, we never launched that marketing program. Not a single ad was placed anywhere. Yes, we hired a person to be a salesman for Sun and Lake. The person came here with a very impressive resume. She had been the community development executive for the fastest growing suburb in Indianapolis. As it turned out, she wasn't really a high-powered professional salesperson. Things aren't always as they seem, you know. So let's kind of put to bed the idea that we've blown a lot of money in the past and nothing came of it. We never really implemented what you'd call a comprehensive marketing program. So here we are. I'm a strong supporter of what you're trying to do. I think it's intuitive that if a strategic plan doesn't make a heavy point, that we have a significant problem with the downtrend in our family memberships and the average age of our memberships. I mean, that's obvious. If a strategic plan doesn't say that you need to do something serious about that as a problem, somebody's really missed the mark. But if it does nothing more than confirm that as an important fact and give us the support within the community to do something about it, then that would, in my opinion, be money very well spent. I think there's another critical point, though, that more than likely the strategic plan is going to bring in the issue of promotion. We need to promote Sun Lake and get visitors here. But I think you guys have got to realize that if you don't cover that fourth P, the place issue, the selling of those people that you attract here, then everything else is not going to, it's a mutual kind of supporting issue. You have to have all four P's in place. And that's a serious issue that you need to address. We need a welcome center here that's staffed by at least one professional salesperson with a track record of success in the selling profession. Selling is a lot more than just, smiling and dialing and smiling and driving people around. We need somebody here that has the capacity to recognize the different buying motives that people have, how to put a presentation of features and benefits together that are going to attract people on the basis of their dominant buying motive. And that kind of person is a valuable person. We need to really look hard to find that person and get it right the first time this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. Anybody else?
Bill Norcross again. I'm sorry, maybe I have to understand what the timeline is on this. I thought there was some discussion in the spring, funding for next year. Why would there be a delay if they didn't have a good program?
No, you misunderstood. It's going to be, up to 38,000 to implement the plan that he suggested to us, the 5 steps, with the final step being the strategic plan. At that point, for the following year, there probably is going to be a cost to us of about $50,000, give or take, to implement what he thinks the strategic plan is. So we have the money for the 38,000, but the 50,000 we don't have yet. It would have to be.
You don't think about it. Okay, fine. I just wonder why there was such a. I mean, this is a kind of not an urgent thing, but I mean it's something that you have to attract and plan ahead. And if you're going to fund it for next year, I mean, we want to have some kind of idea what's going on this year. So now you explained it, and I kind of got the idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else? Anybody else up here want more comment? Okay, Chrissy?
Supervisor Spiegel?
Yes.
Supervisor Branson?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Camp?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Next on the agenda is discussion district-wide zoning. Oh, I want to back up just for a minute. I'm going to appoint myself to be on the committee with Tanya and Jim with Mr. Delosian Global Warming, okay? Or global, not warming, global services. Okay, discussion on district-wide zoning.
At the August 25th and September 8th board meetings, the board proposed district-wide zoning changes to increase the square footage minimum on the living floor area for newly constructed homes within the district. I've attached some maps for you. I've attached the draft of the Highlands County land use regulations and the minutes from those meetings so you could get an idea of what was discussed during those meetings. I have a lot of information in my document here, and I've met with each of you this week. Currently, at the September 8th board meeting, the board proposed a 1,600 square foot minimum living area for all of the zoning of R1 and R1A within the district. And then for R2, I believe we changed the minimum from the required under the land use regulations to 1,200. So I just want to open up for discussion the summarized changes from the last meeting.
Anybody got any questions or comments?
It actually was from August and September. Yeah, I sat down actually with Tanya the other day. I have some concerns, and I've struggled to try to come up with an idea how we can grow the community, protect the residents that already have an investment in this community. There were a considerable amount of lots owned, as she said, by Highlands County. They want to market those lots, and I think that's great because we'll get the revenue from assessments from there. But the way it's written right now, anything pretty much can be built on those lots. And what I mean by anything, some of those lots, you can have a 750 square foot house. So that's how this all started back in August and September, was to try to eliminate some people coming in here with trailers. And I say trailers, I'm talking cargo containers. Some people wanted to bring some cargo containers in here and build houses out of these cargo containers. Now, I have no problem with 1,000 square foot house, 1,200 square foot house, and without sounding crude or crass, my concern is that you start to put a $100,000 piece of property in, it affects the whole community, the community as a whole. Now, there's some areas that probably shouldn't be a concern in my lifetime, even though I'd like to see the community prosper into the future. But there are some things within Unit 16 that are of great concern to me. There's those areas in red, as many of you can see, are zoned a particular way that allows right now homes in some of those areas, not all of them, to be built either 750 square feet or 1,000 square feet. And hopefully Ron will be able to help me with this if I'm incorrect. But right now, the way it's written, they can do that. Now, I don't see, there's a couple people in the audience here, or not in the audience, that just built some new homes. One of them I would guess to be about $500,000. And there's 3 new homes right up in that area where somebody next door to them could build a 750 square foot house. I think we owe it to some of the people within the community to protect them. Now, the caveat here is there are covenants or extended deeds restrictions in 3 or 4 areas. Magnolia Place is one of them, so they're all automatically protected. The Preserve is another area. They're automatically protected. Magnolia Place is a 3rd area that's automatically protected, and half of Unit 16 is under covenants that protect them. The remainder of 16 doesn't, including you on that. You're part of the Preserve, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Michael? Okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to come up with something that at least protects those people who have made a substantial investment in that area, so that, you know, the restrictions aren't 750 square feet or 1,000 square feet, because I know what that's going to bring into the neighborhood. And I'll tell you, in my personal opinion, you start doing that, you're going to see a lot of homes go up for sale. You're going to see the cornerstone of this community, the golf course, start to go down, because people are not going to want to move in. Like I said, it sounds cruel, but they don't want to move into, you know, a 750 or 1,000 square foot home. And quite frankly, those people need to live somewhere, but they won't even be able to maintain their property. And we have enough issues right now in our district here with people leaving, putting up fences and breaking all kinds of deed restrictions. So I don't know where we go with this, and I'm sure that Ron's going to get up and talk. Maybe he can enlighten me and help me to to figure out how we can work together here with the community and Highlands, because they have this substantial amount of lots, and what their thought process is in marketing this.
I'll just speak quickly on this. I thought about it, and I think we can probably go unit by unit. That's one way we could do it, and I think, can't we, Dave?
Well, it kind of depends on what it is you're looking to do. The plan that we had talked about earlier was to come up with some new land use zoning codes, ask the county to create those, and then to kind of basically convert everything that's in the district. So we would have, like right now, there's an R1, an R1A, an R2, and an R3. Those are all land use regulations that the county has adopted. We were talking about doing changing all of the R1s to an R1 SNL that would have a different square footage requirement. The R1As would be an R1A SNL that would have and then we would change everyone in the district from an R1 to an R1 SNL, an R1A to an R1A SNL. When you start talking about actually changing existing zone, like so, if we were to say we don't want R1s in the district anymore, we want all the R1s converted to R1A, that's a much more difficult proposition, because basically what you're doing is we don't own those lots, and if we're trying to change zoning codes from one existing zone type to another existing zone type, that could be considered a governmental taking. And if we're reducing someone's abilities, what they can do on their lot, if we were to change an R1 to an R1A, we're basically telling people you can't, on R1 you can build a 750 square foot house. On R1A it's 1,000. So we've taken the ability to build a 750 square foot house away from a person that owns an R1 lot. If we were to try to implement that, which means that we would have to compensate them for that taking. That's a lot more difficult a proposition.
Okay.
So realistically, in my opinion, the only way that we could realistically do it is the original plan, which is to change or to ask the county to create new zoning codes, and then to change every zoning code in the district to that new code. That way we're not picking and choosing, we're making a blanket change to the entire district.
Okay, what my thought was, because we have two great HOAs here, I mean, in my opinion, we got Manor Hill and we got Magnolia Place. The Deer Run, where Unit 16 is, just really started back up in this last year, that they're functional at all, and the preserve, I guess, they're working on maybe some new changes and stuff, but I'm willing, and I think Tanya and I talked about it, could we give them, because half of 16 is covered by the covenants and the other half, or we don't know who isn't, but can we find out? Try to ask the Deer Run Association in particular to get more active and to do some of the work, because the problem I see is the HOAs in that area, because we don't know who's under the 1,600, and some aren't, and
well, that would be an option, is to find out which of the lots are not covered by those restrictive covenants, and to find out who owns the lots that aren't covered, and find out if they will voluntarily put themselves under that blanket. Now, if the county owns a majority of those lots, that's easy. That's one person to contact. That's one entity to contact. But if we're talking about 100 different landowners, on individual lots, that becomes a little bit more problematic.
But that could be possible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very easy. I mean, the covenants already exist. All they would have to do is the owner of the lots would have to voluntarily submit their lot to those restrictions.
Let me ask you a question on that then, because maybe I misunderstood you, or maybe let me just ask the question. There are people I know that wanted to be part of, and since we're talking about Unit 16, which is the Deer Run Association, there are people that wanted to be part of that association. However, that wouldn't be effective if you didn't get the majority of those landowners. In other words, if you're on the property next to me and I'm in Unit 16 and I want to be part of that association, but you don't, and there's 2 open lots next to us, then the restriction doesn't hold and they can build on it if the county has those 2 lots. Is that correct or am I incorrect?
Well, I mean, if the vacant lot is not currently subject to the covenants and restrictions, then yeah, you're not bound by them. So the question is whether or not someone will voluntarily, submit to becoming subject to those restrictions.
But you can have what you're saying is every other house could be subject to the restrictions, which doesn't make any sense. But why would somebody put a restriction on themselves if the people on each side of them don't have those restrictions? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Unless they want the benefits of being part of an active HOA.
I don't think we have an active HOA currently for Deer Run. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
We do? Okay.
There is an active.
There is an active?
For Deer Run? Yes, there is. I don't know who the president is. Kurt's on it at one time.
I wasn't sure how active or not they were.
Well, active is, I'm not sure the definition of active. We actually have some people that are part of the HOA, maybe they left, that are on Deer Run. No, I think they left. But now, how you enforce the HOA, I mean, that's a whole other story. I'm not even, going there with that. I'm just trying to understand, how do we protect the people that just built homes and not have, a 750 square foot house from next
I don't see how you could do that through the HOA, because you're going to have 100% of the people there voluntarily sign away their right to build a 750 square foot house. It seems to me, though, that in Unit 16, everything in there virtually, with a couple of exceptions, are R1A. So we could look at Sun and Lake and ask the county, okay, in R1A, can you change that to 1,200 square feet or whatever number we want to come up with? I think that's the only way you could possibly get it done. And I would take care of Unit 16. R1 is the stuff back yonder that I don't think you could ever, you could come up with a bigger number, but I don't think you're ever going to get the people that are back there who own those lots, including the county, to say we want 1,200 or 1,600 or whatever. I think we need to look at R1A, and that'll resolve Unit 16.
Well, we've got a problem with R3. Unit 16 too.
Yeah.
Because on the same street, you can have right now I don't know what the requirement. What's an R3 requirement?
750.
750.
Yeah.
You can build a 750 square foot house right next to a 1,200 or whatever it is, and it's legal. So R3 in Block 16, which is the lighter colored red, to me it is. That's a problem as well. And we have people who just build homes there that we know of.
And I'm not saying that's impossible. In my opinion, that's unlikely. If you've got an R3 zone lot, it would be a waste of an R3 lot to do something like that, because R3 is a multi-family zoned property.
Yeah, but we have people that build homes there.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's unlikely. But I mean, if you want to make it impossible, then yeah, you're talking about having to change that.
Well, if you change R3, you're not only changing Unit 16 R3, you're changing all of R3s in Sun and Lake.
Correct. Yeah, and like I discussed before, you can't just change a zoning code from an existing zoning type to another existing zoning type without it potentially being considered a governmental taking.
And I'm not
change the minimum.
Like I say, we could change it. Yeah, we could change it to a different, have the county create a new zoning type,
correct,
and then make that change.
I'd like to, because we're going to come back to the board, but I'd like to open it up to the public comment.
Let me just make another comment so I can understand something. So that
we're coming back to the board.
Right now, it's 750 and 1,000 square feet. That's the way it's written today.
And if I'm correct, there's 1,000 square foot minimum if you're on the golf course.
Right. So it's 1,000 to 750, okay? Our proposal at the time was upward to 1,600 and 2,200 square feet, I think, okay? So we've got a great distance apart here. I mean, a great distance. And now we're talking about bringing Delosier and Company in here and looking at strategic plans, and all of a sudden, if we start to market that property over there, we're going to get a bunch of teeny houses. Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Public comment.
Is there a realtor in the house?
Gary Lilly from Magnolia Place again. Dave, would the county be receptive to us making such a proposal?
In some of our initial talks, it was doable. We didn't actually at the initial talks. We did not get into actual square footage sizes. It was just whether or not we could create the new zoning codes and switch the properties that basically make the change. So yes, that is a possibility.
Because obviously I encourage that. We just had an HOA meeting on Sunday, and we have, I think, 9, I said earlier on 7, I think 9 new homeowners in Magnolia Place, and we're tickled pink to see them. They paid good money to buy those homes. And boy, they told me very emphatically on Sunday to tighten things up. Because they don't want, and Raymond Hornick's involved in a number of lots, and if the bank would support him, we could get some construction in there. We're making some moves in regards to that gate that we've had there for years that's unoperable. It will be operable very soon. I'm already talking to contractors in Highlands County in regards to what can be done there. But they really, the homeowners in our particular neighborhood, and I encourage the committee here to make those moves through you to the county to tighten that up. Because I'll tell you, we're making those moves in Magnolia Place because our people, we ran into, and I understand someone from up north, Florida law, you got to be careful with Florida law because we ran into it with the storm this year with roofs. And I thought I could tighten that up, and I can't, and people, once you allow people certain latitudes, the others will take advantage of it. But it was very emphatic in our meeting on Sunday that our homeowners want things tightened up in our community, and obviously they want to move, they want to see people build, and so they give me certain instructions, and I'll be meeting with the rest of the board on Sunday to obviously go ahead in that direction. So I encourage, Mark has made some very positive remarks here, along with other people. I think we can't allow those small units in our neighborhood because you know what will happen next.
Anybody else? Gary, I think you and the HOAs have a lot more control.
We're a gated community.
Yes,
we know that.
right.
Yes, we know that. But we also have to live within certain parameters.
Yeah.
We have to live within certain parameters. That second gate that I want to put up in Cecilia, I know the parameters there. I went to the court system a year ago and found out there are 6 pages of companies right from Avon Park right to Lake Placid that I have to notify them of any change I make in regards to Cecilia and trying to put that gate there. And I got one cat that resists me. And I hope I outlive him.
They put a wall up on the south side to keep me from coming through. I've got a question. If you change the building size, or the square footage, if there's an existing home already there smaller than that, and something happens, will they have to have to build to the larger size?
It depends. It depends on how much. Like if it was bulldozed, if it's bulldozed to the ground, they have.
I'm talking about maybe hypothetically. In here once before was talking, and Mr. McCullough made a proposal 2,000 square feet on the golf course. Mm-hmm. My house isn't 2,000 square feet, but it's on the golf course. And I went through. I had that experience last September. If worst case scenario, the hurricane leveled my house, will I have to put a 2,000 square foot one back on there?
Very likely.
But see, my insurance is not up there for 2,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. My insurance is covering my 1,700 square feet. And I'm not sure my lot's big enough to be able to put a pool back on it. My lot's not as big as some of the others on Deer Run and whatever. It's smaller.
But you're talking leveling. I mean, if it's leveled,
I'm talking about where I have to rebuild.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'd have to research that to be certain, but I'd say normally, if you're building a brand new house, or if you're building from the ground up, then they could say you have to build it into the new code. If you're replacing, that that's get a bit into semantics there, and that's what would take the research. If you're rebuilding, or if
I'm
you're
talking about
upgrading.
replacing.
Mm-hmm. Replacing, then
I have to raise the thing because of the damage done to it and replace it.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be my concern, and I don't know if they're even looking at 2,000 square feet on the golf course, but that would be a concern for me because my insurance is not that high.
I think for a replacement, if you were replacing what was there, then you would be grandfathering it into what you had, but you would not be able to make any modification. I want my garage to be 100 square feet bigger than it was since I'm rebuilding. Nope. Now if you're wanting to change it, then arguably you have to bring it into the new.
So I wouldn't be able to change the floor plan at all.
Probably not.
Mike, I got one more question.
Okay, go ahead, Ray.
Just so I understand, the R3s, which is the, I guess, orange, whatever color they are, those are 750 right now, minimum? And all the blues, all those units in blue, they are what?
750.
They're 750 also.
All blue is 750.
Okay, so if we wanted to change, if we wanted to do it by units or colors, can we do it by colors? Say all the blues we want to be 1,200 or 1,000? Do we have that ability to do that?
If it's changing if we're creating a new zoning category. So like say all the blues are what? R1s?
So we'd have to go R1 SNO.
Correct.
SNO, R1.
And how does the county feel about this? Do we know?
That's why we can't change it unless the county.
Exactly. That's what it all boils down to. Is
Ron
putting a
can come up,
proposal
but
to the county.
if we can, when we talk with him next week or the week after, we can find out what it is. But
Well, why don't we get some insight from them? Your meeting, we'll have a little bit of a feel.
Just to give you a little insight into the meeting, I mean, the county is here to this is your community. We're not trying to tell you how to run it. I think your ideas of bringing the square footage requirement up is a very valid one, not only as a commissioner, but also as a builder. I mean, it certainly protects the existing property owners. I think it's a good idea. I can't imagine 750 square foot houses being built out here, but if the law allows it, it could happen. So we're here to do whatever you all would like to do if we can make it work out from a legal standpoint, and it sounds like you've got that figured out. We have other issues to get through that we'll talk about as far as the property that the county owns. We have to work through the issue of how we, and again, my personal stance, and I think my fellow commissioners are with me, is we want you all to market the property. We own it, but we don't want to market the property. We're not in the real estate business. So we're going to work out a deal in our meeting to where somehow we're going to work with Sun and Lakes, let you all do the marketing. How we get the back taxes and how you get your back assessments is the real stumbling block at this point. Personally, I would say, look, you almost have to forgive all those things and start over fresh, or you're not going to be able to market the stuff. Now, it's kind of unfair to all those that have been here paying, but if you want the community to grow, you've got to make some sort of concessions to make it more marketable. And the assessments on these properties are out the top. And we're even looking at possibly, is it Unit 12?
Yeah.
Of possibly even having Sun and Lakes possibly foreclose on their side of their assessments, and if they foreclose, then they could come back to the county, ask for a rezone. We could rezone it, and then at that point you may open that whole unit up to building new homes rather than what it was originally planned for, which was a mobile home park. So we could see where there'd be a great improvement in the whole community if we can bring those standards up as well. But that's really your call. We'll do whatever you want to do, but that's the avenue we think we can take to clean up that piece of property. And while I'm here, the lots on the golf course, if I understood Tanya right, you all are pushing for 1,600, or that's what's in the county regs?
That's not what in the county. We, at the last September meeting, our Board of Supervisors said 1,600 square feet. For
wearing my builder's hat, that's awful small for golf course properties, in my opinion.
For golf course? No, that's off the golf course.
Okay.
1,600 square foot
Off the
for
golf
all
course.
R1 and R1A. On the golf course was 2,000.
Okay, that's reasonable. That's reasonable.
2,000.
Okay, so that would protect those that are already there. So anyway, if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them, but we're still trying to work through the logistics of how we're going to get all this done between Sun and Lakes. But we're here to do whatever you all want to do as a group, really.
The Unit 12 foreclosure, we don't have an estimate of what that's going to cost yet. We're still waiting. So I haven't, we're still in the preliminary talks.
Yeah, it's over 1,500 lots, I think. It's 1,600 lots, something like that.
So we're waiting on an estimate for that before I bring it to my board and we decide what to do, but I don't have those estimates yet.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I can just say, though, that Ron's committed to helping us, and because if we get some lots available, they're going to get some money, and that's how our governments work. We need to sell some lots, and it's all comes in together, and just hope we don't have a downturn again. So.
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern here is not with the golf course properties. I think 2022, that's fine. But if you're talking 1,600 minimum for this whole development, you're talking 1,600 under air is basically what you're talking, plus garages and porches and utility rooms. So you're pushing 2,300 square foot total. If you figure 120 a foot to build, something like that, just use it 100 just to be simple. If you pay 20 for a lot, and by the time you get through doing it, you got 2,000 square feet at $100 a foot. So you're talking $220,000 minimum, and it's going to push more like 270, 280. I mean, I don't know how many lots are out in the back part, but there's no way that's ever going to happen.
It's not quite that expensive. That's about a $200,000 deal you just mentioned.
Okay.
But Dan, just to answer your question, I don't think, at least in my mind, in that blue area, that we're looking at 1,600.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you can.
We're looking maybe at 12, and I think the county would probably agree to that more than in that blue area.
12 would be a reasonable number. Yeah. Okay, I got that. I'm okay with the R1A 16 and 2,000 or 22. I guess the issue to me is the R3. And I think the only R3s that aren't built out now are probably in Unit 16, other than the foreclosure that we're looking at. So if we change that, not a big deal. Is that a correct statement?
Change the R3, you mean change the minimum square foot living. What David explained is that changing it from an R3 to an R1.
No, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm talking about changing the minimum square footage.
We believe that could be done if we can focus on units. We can't. Tanglewood and the Unit 12 next to that we were talking about foreclosure is zoned R3.
Right.
Those are mini lots. I
Right.
think they're 50 by 100. So the idea of changing the square foot minimum on those is not feasible right now. I think that's what Ron was saying. We gain control of that land. We vacate the plat, so those lots no longer exist.
Right.
You're talking about by Unit 9?
Yes, the Unit 12.
Unit 12.
So if we're going to change the R3 and increase the minimum square foot living, we'd have to focus by unit to do so.
So basically everything that was done in September, we're throwing out the window, we're going to start all over again.
Yes, that's basically what's happening.
Okay. Especially in the blue area, but we can get this done. Right.
Yeah, but this time we're going to work with the county first to get their support, and then we'll do it.
Right.
All right. I'm good with that.
Okay.
At least that's the plan.
That's a good plan.
Any other public comment? And thank you, Ron. Okay, any more comment up here? Okay. Add-on items.
None.
Petitions and communications.
Yes, we have one. From South Florida State College.
You guys have any thoughts on it? Tennille, or you're gonna?
Just
We're gonna let Tennille-
get Mike.
Okay.
Good morning. Tennille Drury Smith.
It's not working.
Every
It's not
year,
working.
Louder.
No.
Okay.
Every year, the South Florida State College holds their Heartland Senior Games, and Sun and Lake has always hosted the bicycling event portion. This year, they're asking for the bicycling event to be on February 17th, and really the only thing that our staff gets involved with is just making sure the roads are clean and clear of debris the day before. So there's virtually there's no cost associated with us. It's great exposure for our community because it does bring a lot of outside people into. And these games grow every year for them. They're really promoting and getting a lot of new participants every year. So I ask that we personally, keep continuing this relationship with them, and hopefully as we grow and they grow, that we can also attract other events of theirs here to bring other people in.
Any comment by you guys? I think we need a motion to, or public comment, I'm sorry. We need a motion, I guess.
So moved.
We need a motion?
I don't think, it's a consensus, isn't it? It's not a
Oh,
motion.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a consensus. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
We do it every year.
Staff reports. Who's first?
Yeah, I just want to go over a couple of things that are coming up here. We've had some questions about the shuffleboard and bocce. They are coming. I've been working with Mike, and Mike's been really busy getting the maintenance facility up and running. So now that that's kind of winding down, we'll actually be staking off the areas within the racket club next week and getting that project rolling.
Good.
So
You're going to be doing,
hopefully-
he's doing some of that himself, correct? Or his
Yes.
staff?
Yes, we'll be doing a lot of stuff, most of it in-house. We do have our community yard sale next Saturday. As of this morning, and we expect there's always some that try to get in after the deadline, but we have 69 participating this year as of right now. So we will probably be over 70, which is a great turnout. Last year I think we had in the 50s. The first year we did it, we had 80-something. So those who live in Manor Hill, since they are not allowed to have yard sales at their personal property, we do open up the community center yard for those who wish to participate. So I think there's 4 there that will be set up as well. So great participation, and for anyone who wants to go yard selling next weekend, there will be a list on the website of properties and also a code that you can follow for the types of items they'll be selling. And it's also advertised on Facebook, and it's on the billboard by Olive Garden. We do have our new residents and visitors reception that we do every year on February 6th. Those invitations will be going out next week. It's also been advertised in the newsletter. And we have our pickleball tournament coming up. This will be our 5th annual. We were also looking at doing something a little different for Easter this year, because it seems like every year more Easter egg hunts get added into the Sebring area. So rather than compete, we're probably going to reinvent the wheel, and I think we're going to do a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt, black light, since we already have the black light stuff from Halloween and everything, just to try something new, and we'll see how it goes. And then there's an exciting new event coming to Sebring in the first weekend in April. Some of you may have heard the Craft Soda Festival, the Sebring Chamber of Commerce, which I sit on that board, and the Tourist Development Council, which I also sit on that board, is kind of partnering to bring new events to the area. So we're going to be sponsoring the tote bags. So the first 1,000 people who come will get a tote bag that has our logo on it. It'll be great exposure for us, because it's going to bring a lot of people. It'll be marketed all throughout the state of Florida. So I think it's going to be a great event. It's already getting a lot of buzz. So there's one other festival like this in the United States. I believe it's in Iowa, and it draws
First week of April.
80,000 people a year. Obviously, we're probably not going to see that the first year, but it may, after time, grow popularity, and we'll see a lot more people. So getting a part of it from the get-go, I think, will be a great thing for us. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm a great believer in being able to tell people when things are going to get done, instead of saying it's coming soon. So the dog park's in 2 months. We've already heard that. What about the shuffleboard and the bocce courts? Because I keep telling people eventually. And there are people who actually are interested in this.
Yeah.
So when are they going to be done?
I have to look to Mike to ask for that.
Well,
What's the plan?
Both of them at the same time. So, I mean, within the next couple of months, I hope to have them done.
Was this January? So can I say by April 1st?
No.
Can I say by May 1st?
May 1st.
That's my, I mean, people want, it's nice to tell people, and by the way, congratulations.
Well, we've had so much with this new building. We
That's
really
fine.
Had a chance to,
I just want to be able to tell people, this is when they're going to be here. I mean, we told them in January about the blinds and the lanai, and this time we were right, so congratulations to that.
One out of two's not bad this week.
We'll get back to you on your batting average, so. That's all I got.
Michael,
Yes, sir.
are you going to be on patrol? Not you specifically, but your people?
For the
Yard sales?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually put an extra person on that day.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people riding around there lost or whatever, and it works out good when we have, have an extra man on an extra vehicle on the road.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Tennille. Who's next?
I want to take a few minutes and just talk about and give you guys an update on FEMA. We have 100% submission of all our projects. We submitted $414,000 for reimbursement. To date, we spent $247,000. 94,000 came last year. This year, we spent $150,000, which was not budgeted. We're hoping we get reimbursed sometime this year. FEMA has mentioned that Cat A and Cat B, which is about $230,000, should be in the next month or so. That's going to be kicked out a little bit faster. The rest of the projects may be longer. 80% of our projects are completed. We're waiting on Arvita Road to finish up, and we're waiting on some of the roof damage. Insurance will be here on the 16th to review all our insurance claims. Once we get denials from insurance, then FEMA reimbursement will come into play. So we're going to wait for that on the 16th. Maybe insurance picks up all the roofs and we won't have to worry about any FEMA reimbursement on that end. So hopefully we'll get everything finished up here in the next month regarding FEMA, and then we're just waiting for reimbursement.
I couldn't write that fast. Can you capsize and put it into an email and send it to us?
Sure, I got a report that I can give you guys.
Yeah.
I'll email it to you after the meeting.
That'd be great.
Great, thank you. Question, Omar. Did we implement that investment strategy for the end of year, or we're still working on that?
We're still working on that.
Okay.
We did put some more money in the prime.
Okay.
It's up to 1.55 basis points now. We did open the Water Walker account with $250,000. We put it in the FDIC insured pool, which is earning a little bit less, but it's a more safe investment option. And then we have 3 CDs that are going to come due here in February, which we're going to restagger and make some changes there. So February is when more changes will be coming.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else for Omar? Okay. Thank you, Omar. You're not going to talk, Mike? Okay, I just have one question. Well, and then stop from Jim. From what Omar said, we don't know anything about the roofs yet, or we got prices on the metal roofs?
We're just waiting for the insurance money to come to know what we can spend.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and make a decision, either go back with metal or go back with what's on there.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll give you that as soon as, the insurance comes back to us.
Okay. Okay, Jim.
Good morning. I'd like to start out by introducing Earl McKim, who's right here to my left. He's our new golf course superintendent. He started on December 20th and immediately got to move into a new facility, which is a very great facility. It was a lot of work, and everybody did a great job. I'd like to thank Mike and George and his teams for working with our team to get that all done. Earl jumped right into it. Basically, started out with helping us a lot. He's got extensive experience with capital projects. He's done renovations on golf courses, so that's helped us a lot. Looking at the projects that we're trying to tie up, the stumps and the bridges and the other things. He's worked with contractors, so it's great that he has that experience. His first thing on the golf course is to work with staff training, which I like to see. That was starting at the beginning, course setups and those things that are vital to the player experience, which you can tell. Earl's got a great eye for detail. You can see that he sees what the golfer sees, and that's one of the things I like, that he's bringing to the table. The last thing he's working on now is just tying together all the hurricane cleanup, the little areas like behind 11T on Deer that just needs to be spruced up. It's not really in play, but it's an eyesore, for lack of a better term, and so we'll get a prioritized list of those. Some of that was, I don't want to say missed, but it was easy not to see when you had the bigger picture of other things. Another kudo again to the board and Mike. The blinds have been the solar shades have been a huge hit, and we're looking forward to utilizing those. We've got our member appreciation night. We've got a member appreciation night scheduled for January 29th. This month we tried something new with that. We're bringing in a DJ. So we want to sell the place out and fill it up with members at 25% off to continue to show them their value for their membership. Also, along with that, we've kind of set an interdepartmental goal to generate $15,000 to $20,000 with these invitations that we're doing to outside groups. Meaning we've invited in Crystal Lake that had about 150 people to come in for a Crystal Lake night, Adelaide Shores, Tanglewood, so we've kind of set that goal. Even with the discounts, because of the nights that we're picking, which are slow nights, it's a 50% margin, and we're hoping to average about an extra $750 profit, per night. The kitchen reno, we've got our final meeting of our committee on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I'll get information out to the board in the form of what the agenda will be for the 30th. Forward the final drawings with a bunch of notes so I can get feedback to guide Cliff, our architect, and CJ, the kitchen, the presenter of all the design. So they're prepared to answer all the questions. Moving to our operations, specifically golf play, obviously the hurricane, and then I had kind of convinced myself that we were in a long-term 10-year, 20-year warming weather pattern for the winters, but so far this isn't cooperating, so I hope we get a nice turnaround with that. Our numbers, through November, our green fee revenue's down $30,000. It's very encouraging that as of yesterday, when I ran the membership numbers year over year, it's because it's a moving target with your seasonal memberships, but we're up to $39,000 as of yesterday, and that is a little bit hidden in your income statements because everything's amortized, and so it doesn't really show in the income statement that we're ahead that way. But that's a nice, obviously, trend to see. Golf course labor is up relative to the hurricane, and then we had also budgeted for the mechanic to be working for the district, but when the building didn't get done, that was delayed. We're looking forward to, my understanding is we're scheduled for a $52,000 reimbursement from FEMA, so that will help us a lot, obviously, as the year goes on. The financials relative to Earl's department are a little off-kilter in the fact that a number of the expenditures that would have been in October and November because of the pump being down and the hurricane and the different things are running into December, but we still are on budget. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. I know with the storm Irma, it created havoc here, and as well as with the economy. Our last report, of course, our reports, we always get them like a month behind. Can you give me an idea, because you have the ability, based on what you just told me, to look forward? Are we starting to trend forward? Because I know a lot of this was, we're behind, and the reason, and it makes perfect sense, we were behind because of the storm. Are we starting to trend upward now that we've been several months past this hurricane, or are we pretty much flat?
We're still, F&B is back in line, so everything's back in line with F&B. The golf course, we're still trending behind. Green fee revenue, like as we look forward into December, green fee revenue was off another $13,000. So that hasn't turned yet, and now it's hard to say. I mean, the local economy should be coming back. When you look at F&B, it's coming back. This weather, it's just, we've had perfect years the last couple of years. Last year, the Gulf Data Tech that tracks the weather was like a 5% increase. But to answer your question, it's not bounced back yet.
No, and I appreciate that. You have no control over that, quite frankly. I mean, but every month when we get the reports, it says we're behind, and the reason we're behind is because of Irma and the economy. And I was just wondering if it's starting to trend upward, and it sounds like it isn't changed at all. Our next report will probably be similar.
Yeah, and I'll try to give you a quicker update. So, I have we have the POS, and I'm really interested, today, I'd be interested to see if from January 15th to January 30th, we actually had good weather, how that 15-day period would trend against the others. Because, I mean, as you all have seen, it's rain and fog and cold the last 3 weeks. So, but I will keep you aware of those trends.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
A couple more questions.
Sure.
Wait. Advertising revenue on the GPSs, is that also flat, or is that down, or where are we at with that? Because we usually take some money out of that and apply it.
Yes, I'll be better able to report that next month. So I see, I'm meeting with the people now, but it looks promising, but still they need to sign the line for the commitment.
Policies and rules, I received a revision on that. I don't know what kind of feedback you're looking for from everybody as to when you look to implement that. Is there a time frame? We were trying to do it, I know, by the end of this month. Is that still the target date, or? It
is the target, and I should have, I just need to work through email. I had a couple of the changes, and I didn't get back to each supervisor to see if we had a consensus.
Okay.
I mean, it was just a 911 edition, and then actually we've gone back and forth about the need for 2 separate handicap flags, because the difficulty is we really don't want to have 2 flags, but we have just less than a handful of people that can hardly, apply. And what I felt and what I know, the purpose of the rules and regs is that if it's in there, it's kind of a law. Mm-hmm. So it's not like an exception that, it's 15 yards for everybody but Joe. So that was the only thing. I didn't know if the board felt, because really what I had out, I'm happy with what we sent out, other than just I didn't really get the feedback on the handicap flag. So after all that explanation, I'll bring it to the 26th for final approval, which was my plans, but I should have gotten to it sooner.
Can we just go with this?
The other,
just a bit of input on that.
Yes.
I don't think we have any other choice than to have a separate flag under the ADA. You have to make a reasonable accommodation, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
My only question was, you didn't say how far was it? What is it? 2 two wheels on the green? Or, you know, I don't know where this ends.
No, I think that's a good
If
suggestion.
it's a back pin or a red pin, where are you going to, you know?
No, that's a good suggestion. So what I'll do is, expand on that and basically bring a final copy to the 26th for approval.
Okay.
Okay, tied back into the GPS, I just need, we kind of briefly discussed it the other day, I don't know if anybody has. So according to your email, I think I received it yesterday, and I hope everybody else did, that now all of the GPSs have been up and operational and running, but we didn't end up replacing them with the new ones, which I must have misunderstood it. I kind of listened to the minutes and it said we were replacing them, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're going with the same GPSs that were pretty much said that they were defective and having problems. And we paid $163,000 for the GPSs, and we paid roughly $24,000 discounted, or $30,000 for maintenance and software. And we continue to pay that. What is, if any, is the guarantee that we're going to have better uptime from these? Are they going to replace them with a new unit if they fail again?
And you didn't misunderstand any more than I misunderstood, or they changed their path, because my understanding when I talked to Pat Parente, who was their sales for DSG Tag, is they were bringing in a new unit, and I thought the new unit was exactly the same as the old unit, was going to have the same capabilities. And it turned out that the new unit is a different unit. It's not the same. So it's, separate software and separate capabilities. So with those new units coming out, which would be an upgrade, which I haven't even looked at, they've got 1,000 people signed up for new units, so that creates a stock of 1,000 units for what, we're looking to replace. We've got a conference call next week, and we went from having 96 carts to 100 carts. I want to get GPSs in every cart and then have 10 or 15 GPSs extra right here on stock, and they're indicating that will happen. But I want to get with them on the phone and get it in writing, because I was disappointed with the way the last conversation went and my understanding of them trading out the units from current units to new units, and that not happening that way.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because the whole idea when they purchased those units, of which they went with the Cadillac version, or the Ferrari version, I think, 3 years ago, was one of the selling features, besides advertising and convenience and some of those other things, was the customer satisfaction, the personal type of touch, something that put us unique from a lot of others, and obviously it puts us really unique if they aren't functioning properly. So I didn't know what they came up with, and you can do the best you can do, but their service hasn't been the greatest either, and I was hoping that I might have an answer on that.
No, I mean, they're attentive. I'm disappointed in the overall product. I didn't get to see the beginning of it, where, as an electronic, it was working pretty flawlessly for the first year. They had minimal, problems. But in the last year, there's been more down than there should be. And the fact that they credit us for the units that are down doesn't make it better that we can't achieve our goal, for having a unit in every cart. But I'll keep you updated on that. We do got the conference call, and it makes sense to me that it's gonna be a different story, because with the new unit coming out, there's gonna be a lot more stock of the units we have.
All right. No, I greatly appreciate those answers. And the only other thing is, we have some tag units, 12 additional tag units that were supposed to be in other vehicles. Do we have an inventory of where those are and what vehicles they're in?
Yes, yeah, they're primarily on Gators, so
on the Gators.
of Earl's people, so we can actually track where people are, if somebody went off property or went somewhere they shouldn't.
Okay. Hey, he's doing a great job, by the way. Earl, congratulations, really are. A lot of good compliments.
Ray?
Well, I just want to follow up on the GPS. He's a nice guy. I'm not so nice. These guys sold us units that weren't good, right? That's what we're saying. Unless I'm misunderstanding. We didn't get what we thought we were buying.
I
correct?
agree. They have not been as reliable as I would want them to be.
Then they told us that we're going to replace them and give you new ones. Now they're saying, well, we're going to fix the ones that you got. We're going to update them. That's not acceptable. I mean, you're allowed to say it's not acceptable. I would, personally, if it was me, I would say, give me the new units or we're done. They're screwing around with us.
We own them.
I want new units replaced, or I'm not going to pay the $12,000 a year. I mean, this is... Why do we let people keep taking advantage of us? I don't get it.
David, can you get involved in this?
Yeah, I think I need to talk to David and see what our legal, what our footing is. The units have a 12-month warranty, so we're way beyond the warranty, and now we're just into the maintenance and service contract.
Yeah, but these guys, they told you they were going to give you new ones. I mean, that's what we said last meeting. I don't know if that's a good company to be doing business with if they can't, keep their word.
No, I'll meet with David and I'll have a report back on the 26th.
Okay, any other questions for Jim?
Thank you, Jim.
Do we have for lack of a better word, a business proposition for these things? I know we're paying so much a year, which was supposed to be offset by the advertising. I don't know whether it is or it isn't.
So far, we've been able to match, the advertising has surpassed the maintenance fee, and so we've been plateaued for the last couple of years where it's right kind of neck and neck. So we're working very hard to make that happen, so that makes sense.
So what we're really out is $170,000 for the purchase?
Yes, and originally the way that was determined to pay back was to take for basically the first 170,000 rounds that we had to deduct $1 from each round, and we're getting close to that payoff, where that'll be paid off. But I mean, I want to get 6 years out of the units. I'll do more research, basically. I have not had experience with the GPSs, so what I need to understand is in the industry, what is the expectation of this electronic unit? How problem-free is it year 1? How problem-free is it year 3? And then I need to find out from David where our leverage is, and, then basically push them to do what they should do.
I would think that you have, in my humble opinion, a lot of leverage, because all you have to do is generate the report of how many times those things have failed and how many times you've had the technician out here and what are the repairs, and if they're reoccurring repairs over and over and over. And I mean, at least you can show and say, look, we've had these units X amount of years, and we've had, hypothetically, 200 service calls for the same thing, or whatever, to, come up with that's the leverage I would say. They're a piece of junk.
But it was a 12-month warranty, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So they've been out of warranty for a couple of years, so I don't know how strong a position we got.
But we get extended warranties when we spend that money, too.
Yeah.
We get the software, but we get an extended warranty.
Yeah. So I'll meet with David, see where our footing is, and then, get his involvement or advice on the conference call, and then also find out in the industry what we should be pushing them for.
I mean, sooner or later we're going to have to make another decision to buy more or not buy more of these things. And we might point that out to them.
Great.
Anybody else? All I can say, Jim, is that I can't wait for this contract to end, because if I'm still on this board, I'm not renewing no GPSs. So, you can talk to them all you want, but and I hope I'm here to say no. Okay. Is that?
It actually ends pretty soon.
General Counsel report.
All right, we had a couple of foreclosure sales that went through. Actually, ended up not being a foreclosure. They paid off the debt, but it was to the tune of $10,000, over $8,000 of back assessments and $2,000 in utility assessments. And then we had that was on Brett Circle, and then on Monza yesterday we sold we got our little over $6,200 in back assessments through that sale once it's finalized in about 10 days. Ayala.
Yeah. Our favorite subject.
I've got good news and bad news. The good news is there has been a ruling. The bad news is it was not in our favor. The appellate court affirmed the trial court's decision, but there were some caveats in there about the Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Act's counts that were raised by the plaintiffs. The appellate court basically said that they felt that there was some case law that supports a position that the district would be immune, but the appellate court said that was not raised in the district's brief, and based on the report from Roper & Roper, that their statement is that yes, it was raised in that brief, and so they're trying to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to it's been remanded back to the trial court. And they're trying to make a decision if they want the appellate court to go back and revisit the brief where it details its position on the Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Act's claims, or if they just want to let the trial court handle it. Ultimately, though, even if that does get handled, which it sounds like it will one way or the other, those Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Act's claims should go away. We still have a negligent misrepresentation claim. That is being handled by Tom Gonzalez. I believe he's drafting a motion for summary judgment on that remaining issue. So while that hasn't been dealt with by the previous motion to dismiss and won't be, that's one of the ones that has been affirmed. We're very likely going to have to at least have a hearing on a motion to dismiss, and if that doesn't go well, then there will be a trial on that remaining issue. So conservatively, we're looking at probably 6 months.
Okay. In layman's terms, what are we on the hook for?
The negligent misrepresentation is the one thing that, in my opinion, could still go to trial. And that basically is that district or district staff negligently represented that we had the ability to, take care of some of those bonds.
And we would be responsible for all attorney fees?
Potentially. I don't know that. I will have to get back and see which, because I know that we've done a lot of it's going to depend on what their actual awards are, because I think that they are actually requesting damages in excess of what they paid. I don't really understand the basis for why they made that claim, because they only paid in a certain amount of money. They're saying that they should be compensated greater than what they actually paid out. So I don't think there's a lot of teeth in that argument, but I'd have to go back and revisit what the individuals, because we've had several individuals that took the settlement offer, which was exactly that. They were offered, we were going to pay you back what you paid out. And so in my opinion, I think the district's in a better position, to defend. My recollection is that there was a statutory offer of settlement was made to all of them, which is why some of the people did settle. And the people that did not settle, based on that statutory offer of settlement, we can go after them for attorney's fees if they don't end up getting their relief that they're requesting, which, as I stated, is in excess of what they actually paid out. So, but like I say, in all likelihood, we're probably looking at another 6 months before it's all said and done.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Okay, General Manager's report.
Good morning, Supervisors. The annual meeting of the landowners is January 26th, as President Gilpin mentioned in the announcement. Mr. Stiegel, his seat is open, and he was the only one who submitted a letter of interest. And so, we'll have that on the agenda for January 26th for the meeting of the landowners. After the meeting of the landowners, we will reconvene to our regular meeting and appoint the officers of the Board of Supervisors at that time. A couple of meeting updates. As President Gilpin mentioned, we have a meeting with the county on January 26th at 2:30 that him and I will attend. There's a ribbon cutting ceremony for the EMS fire station on Center Lake Boulevard January 23rd at 10 a.m. The district contributed $100,000 cash towards that project. I know several of you are new. You may not know that, but that there was a cash contribution towards that project to the county. A couple of advertisements that we have opening right now for proposals and bids. The deadline for proposals for assessment methodology is January 24th, and the bid opening, or the deadline for the drainage projects related to Matanzas, Nita, Granada, Balboa, and Columbus, that's January 25th. So we have the bid open now, for advertisement, and that's a deadline for receiving bids on those projects. Mike is still working with E.O. Cook on the final punch list, so we hope to have that completed in the next couple weeks. Next week? Okay. So they haven't received final payment, but we're working through those punch list items. A couple other things. Mr. Brooks had requested some sample aluminum lettering for the front entrance side. At the last meeting, we're waiting on those aluminum letter samples to show the board. Mr. Brooks had asked if the district could get quotes for the trees that have fallen over in the wetland area at the corner of Sunrise and Sun Lake Boulevard. We have received a quote. That is $4,725. It's anywhere from 17 to 20 trees. Being that it is a conservation wetland, we can only remove the trees that have fallen or are leaning to the point that they will not survive in the wetland. So there's about 17 to 20. This will not be a FEMA reimbursed expense. Is there any interest in the board in moving forward with this project? I mean, it's minor, but it's something that Mr. Brooks had asked us to look into.
Well, I think we all want to get it done. It's just I think I said it before Ray asked it. It's just a matter of time, when we do it. So I don't think there's any opposition to when it's done, or to doing it. It's just when it's done. So I guess we need some direction from you, or if you want to ask the board.
I'm asking you now if you want us to move forward with that project here in the next few months.
Is there my only question was, I thought there were some other places that were pretty bad, but I can't think off the top of my head. But what do you guys think?
Well, since it was my idea, the golf course, just so you know, we had a meeting with Earl, and we've got a commitment from Earl that he's going to take care of all the trees and the stumps that were not addressed on the initial pass, that he will do that and get it done in the next 2 months. So that's going to be taken care of.
Who's we?
Earl.
His people. The golf committee, or who?
No.
Who's we?
Earl and his people are going to do it.
Okay, but you said we met with Earl.
Oh, the golf committee met with Earl.
Oh, golf committee, okay. Okay.
And Earl committed at that point, 2 months, he'll get it all cleaned up.
And that's no financial thing, I'm sure, right? Okay.
He said his people were going to take care of it.
Okay.
Well, whether they do it internally or hired it out, I'm going to leave that up to Earl, okay? Because once they do an assessment of what's left, I'm going to leave that in his hands, and he'll let us know what he decides, whether it's going to be, all in-house, or maybe, maybe the contractor does have to step in on some of that. We're not sure yet.
But you'll come to us with that if the contractor has to step in. Or would that be in Jim's
whatever is done will be done out of our operating
in your
account.
budget?
So whether it's in-house or whether it's a contractor.
Gotcha.
What we're talking about here is those pine trees that got blown over next to Sun and Lake. Is that what?
What I was speaking of earlier is the pine trees that were blown over at the corner of Sun and Lake and Sunrise. This is a conservation wetland area.
Right.
That's right here, off of Deer and mainly Sun and Lake Boulevard. So that was something that we had not planned to do this year. We can do that within our maintenance and grounds budget, but that's $4,725. And then we also have the Deer Run stumps that he was speaking of that Earl and his staff are going to look into.
Okay, so
Yeah, actually, Mike and I took a ride. Go ahead. You
Right. We took a ride a couple of weeks ago, and I've also had a lot of requests from residents asking me when we're going to clean it up. You know, it's a main road that people come in and out of, and if people looking for homes and stuff, if they see all the trees down, it actually doesn't look good. I think we should clean up. There are some that are leaning towards the line, the electrical lines and stuff. And the contractor that we talked to said he's also has to remove all the trees and stumps now, because before we had FEMA doing it, but now they're gone. So, I mean, it did up the cost a little, but, I mean, I suggest, I've had a lot of requests to have it done.
Well, the price is not bad at all. $4,000 and some dollars is not bad.
And
It's
it
not a bad
starts
thing.
from Hole 1 all the way down to Cortez. So, it's, you know, it's quite a big
It's a
area
long
that
way.
they're going to be doing. And they said they'd clean it up. So,
I mean, I'd just like to see it happen, so, I don't know, it's an
actually, so
eyesore
would
as
I,
far as I'm
because
concerned.
people think it's us not doing our work, so.
It's an
So
eyesore.
this is basically the ones you can see from Sun and Lake Boulevard.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right at the
And Ray and I
intersection
did
there.
take a ride, and there were, you know, it should be cleaned up.
Good. Do you
Okay.
want,
Thank you.
you want a motion, or what do you want to do?
No, just, it sounds like that, go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Okay?
Thanks.
Just a couple other announcements. Last month, I met with the school board regarding the traffic situation at Sun and Lake Elementary School. There's been, I've had no communication from the school board, nor do I expect for them to resolve that situation timely. I plan a follow-up phone call with the superintendent of schools, Brenda Longshore, but at this time, I haven't heard anything. Let's see, a couple other things. Oh, Tennille passed out the code enforcement guide for you. So this is, thank you to her and the code enforcement staff for putting together a brochure for the community. And lastly, I heard from Tony Chansey of Billy Casper Golf late yesterday evening by email. He said that the board will have a formal response by the end of next week regarding the reimbursement request for the district.
Thank you. Tanya, I have a quick question on the special, do we need somebody to run that special landowner meeting?
Yes, we
Are you
will.
going to take care of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
I'll contact a few people in the community. It could be, I just want to see if there's any interest from any landowner, but it could be anyone from the audience as well. But I'd like to sit down with that person and show them the agenda, what we normally do for the landowners meeting. So if there's anybody that would like to volunteer, please contact me.
Okay.
The proposals that are outstanding right now, and I realize the due date's not until towards the end of this month, do we have any responses to them yet?
No, typically we don't receive a response in a sealed bid process to maybe the day before, or really the day of, is usually the only time that we get any proposals. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Unfinished business?
None.
New business?
None.
Committee reports?
None.
And what everybody's been waiting for, public comment. You got to be quick to beat Bill, guys.
That's why I get the front row. Doesn't often happen that you have an opportunity to thank Commissioner and District Supervisor, our DPW people, for small projects. A couple of small projects worked on, and everybody appreciates that, whether it be a door or two being put on or some water supply being found. People appreciate it. So where credit is due, I like to see it in their direction, and thank you very much. I'd also like to welcome Earl, which has disappeared now, but I understand he is going to implement some new ideas here, whether it be verticutting and other things on the greens, and we certainly encourage new ideas and different approaches, because we have a fine facility here and we just like to improve it. The other thing that I'm very concerned, and I'm glad Ron has stayed here, is the traffic control on Sun Lake Boulevard. It is out of control. And perhaps we can come up with, this board has nothing to do with Sun Lake Boulevard. It's you, thank you. What can we do to slow the traffic down? Can we put up illuminated signs that give you your speed? You're not going to put speed bumps out there. Is there something we can do?
I think you all asked me before about
Yes.
those flashing signs. Those come from DOT. I did check on it. And when they have left over, then they allocate some of those out to different counties. And we're on their list. Pardon me?
Yes, Sun and Lake is on the list to receive some, but it's been, no confirmation, but it's been over a year, and I did follow up recently on that. Yeah, so we're still waiting.
Things move rather quickly, don't they? It's just beyond me. It really is, because, I tell you what, I told one of the supervisors here the other day that a fellow cut me off just before the circle. I beeped at him. Now the guy's following me home. Now it's going to get really serious someday. So a simple thing like putting up those signs that tell you you're going 35 miles an hour or more. Maybe that would slow them down just a little bit. That'd be before the circle and then the second circle. All right, so it would be 4. 2. 1. Something.
We're very busy putting up signs back up from Pearl there. We're taking that.
I understand that, but someday there's going to be a major confrontation out there whether somebody's going to get really PO'd and have a gun, and somebody's going to get them cut off, and there's going to be a problem. So, it is out of control now. I just don't want to get any worse. I appreciate the attendance, and I think maybe we can have a follow-up letter, something that we could do something, and like when.
I will come back.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else?
I think he warmed up.
Just real quick, Tanya kind of stole my thunder, but I wanted to compliment you on your maintenance facility. Whatever you do, do not invite Road and Bridge out here to see it. Because we have nothing that nice. But Mike, you did it's really a nice facility, and y'all should be proud of it. And secondly, I think your date for our meeting is the 23rd. You said the 26th.
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
I think it's the 23rd.
Yeah, I apologize. It is the 23rd, and that's the same day as the ribbon cutting ceremony.
And the ribbon cutting is at 10 o'clock, and everybody's invited.
Yes.
Come on out. We're going to have no refreshments, but come right on out.
Thank you for attending. Mr. Hanley did, come to the grand opening last Friday at the maintenance facility, so I appreciate him spending the time.
Anybody else?
I actually don't have a question. Of course.
Here at the board, anybody here?
Yeah, I have one question.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy.
Just a minute.
Sorry. Public comment.
Well, I don't know if it's a public comment. I live towards the back of Sun and Lake, past Cortez, and that area is never looked. The grounds, I have to come here and complain every other month because they don't cut that area. I know this time now, the grass doesn't grow much.
Yeah.
But when it's like in the summertime, I've had to complain. I don't know if it's Earl. It's the guy that's in charge of the...
George. It's George, but Mike's... You can talk to Mike.
Can you give your address and I'll...
Yes. In fact, I came like 2 weeks ago to complain because there was a couple of things, and they only did was fix the hole that's in the entrance from Sun and Lake and Pueblo. There was a hole there, and they just threw a piece of tar there. I have pictures. That's the only thing they did.
Right. Well, I'll come out there if you want. I'll come out there and give me your address.
Sure, 5815 San Juan Drive.
Oh, okay. I know.
It's towards the back. There's not a lot of houses back there, maybe 10 houses in the whole development. So it's very overlooked. Another thing, where the water runs through the back of the houses? I've been living there for 6 years. They used to do it every 3 months. They would have a machine come and cut that area because it grows really tall and the water doesn't run. So
Hey, Michael, we got that nice new machine. Will that work there?
Well, actually, it's funny, and Mike is saying that she's coming up, but we were out there yesterday I actually took the contractor that we usually use to clean those ditches, and that's one of the areas. But you have a telephone pole that's right there at the center of the ditches that we got to try to get moved.
No, I don't have it like
But it's further down there.
Well,
Yeah.
and so I've come to complain. They've been, like last year, the last time that someone came and cut that area was December 1st, 2016. Okay? And I keep telling them it's not acceptable. 16. They didn't come on call last year. And I would come and complain. I even went to the assessment office. They don't do anything there. They just take down my information. And who cares? You know?
Okay, well, do me a favor, or us, talk with him after the meeting, and if he doesn't help you out, you come back.
So I told them that I was going to come to the association and see if anything is done.
But just come back here, come to a meeting.
All right.
Okay, and that way.
And another thing is, I know Irma, a lot of people have issues, but the common area behind my house, a lot of trees came down. There's even more that are going to be coming down into my property, into my fence area, and that's going to cost me money.
Well, if it's, that's whoever owns that property, that's like.
No, it's not. It's the common area where you guys
Oh,
cut.
okay, well, Michael, look
I
at that.
understand. I mean, I had the issue when Irma came, and the next door neighbors, it's an empty lot. The trees fell on my lot. I came over here to complain. They told me it's Mother Nature. Sunny Lake doesn't have, it's owned by somebody. So they gave me the property information, and there was a P.O. box that I had to get a hold of the people so they can come and cut the tree. How am I going to get a hold of those people? There was a P.O. box number that I have to contact them. I had to wind up paying someone to cut the tree because it was in my yard. I couldn't almost open the side of my door where the garage is because the tree had fallen there.
Do you have anything, Tanya?
Sun and Lake is not responsible for trees from other personal property owners. Yeah.
That part I understood.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we're doing what we can, but if you don't get any satisfaction, you just come back, okay?
all right.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, okay.
I spoke with the engineering department.
Can you give our...
What's your name, sir?
Your name?
Oh, my name is Julio Lara. I am in 5838 San Juan. I spoke, I think, with you about a year ago because the ditch next to the house is moving toward the house. And the slope is giving in, and the fence is already bending. You told me a year ago that you want to pass and check, and I would really like you to do something. If not, my fence is going to get in.
We've already done a couple swales there, and actually, I hope to get out there this year to do your area.
Yeah, because the ditch itself is moving to the north to my property.
I know. I mean, this stuff hasn't been done in a long time, so we're trying, we have to do a little at a time. And it's not a little, we've done quite a bit. Actually, we've done a lot over the last couple of years, but, it's a big area back there. It's so big that hasn't been addressed. We are starting to address. I've taken all you guys out there and shown the areas we addressed, and we are moving down. He's further moving.
Yeah.
But I do plan on getting out there. Just actually was out there yesterday on this area.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I know you go, we've been out there multiple times, and that's a major concern of mine. I've expressed it to Tanya, too. I've expressed it when I've been on this board. I would really like to see a proposed schedule of when we think we can get to some of these areas. If it's a year and a half, 2 years down the road, but I would like to see that so that when people come here, just like what Ray said earlier, rather than say it's going to be done sometime in the future, we can at least say it's going to be in the third quarter of this year or the fourth quarter. Planning is all part of it. That's all I'm saying. I know you got a lot of things on your plate. I'm just saying, maybe it's 2 years down the road. I don't know. I'm just saying, some kind of plan.
I mean, it's not a budget thing. You can say, based on our budget right now, this is when we're going to get to.
Yeah.
And then we can decide if that's acceptable or not. I mean, if we want to give you more money to move it up, that's a conversation.
If it becomes a problem, come to us, Mike, and we could tell him face to face, we can't afford it right now, or we can do it right now. That's a.
Well, a lot has been, it just hasn't been addressed in years. So there's so much grown in, and it's triple the problem because it hasn't been addressed.
Right.
I mean, if we address it in the past, it's not easy.
But we still need to address it. It'll never get better. It's only going to get worse.
And I do appreciate, how you guys support all that.
Yeah,
we are getting it.
We've offered you additional monies, so it's not like we haven't done that.
We don't have great attendance at these meetings. If somebody takes the time to come here and tell us they got a situation, I think we ought to address it as quickly as we can.
I have another, it's not a request, it's like to the manager. You was talking about some regulations in the wetland for the trees and stuff like that. I was in the impression that the federal regulation in the wetland was lifted not too long ago. I have a piece of property over here in Song Lake, is in the wetland, and I was expecting that this year we get this resolved. Anything that you can tell me about it, is regulation, if they are still in place? Or?
The conservation wetlands that Sun and Lake owns here in the district is, we own those wetlands. I'm not familiar with what federal regulations that you're speaking of.
Well, all these wetland that they talking that nobody can touch it, that nobody do nothing. I think all these regulations have been lifted.
Our permits are restricted to what we can and can't do, but when a tree has fallen and if it needs some sort of a maintenance, we can do that. On our properties. We have many wetlands here, I'm not familiar with other properties in the county or state of Florida, but I'm talking about...
The county still follow the old regulations that before this administration, or...
I don't know, sir. It depends on the permit, that they have. I'm not familiar with any other wetlands.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Meeting adjourned.
Wait.
Meeting not adjourned.
I've got a couple things. Two things. Tanya, can you give us an update on the Pebble Beach conversation that we had at the last meeting about the letters, sending them out and trying to figure out what's going on? The expansion that we were talking about?
I've received a draft. I have it on my desk to review, but we haven't sent those out. We haven't finalized those letters. There's really no movement, but I do have a draft on it.
Okay, so we're still a go on trying to get that thing accomplished?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing is, and I know you guys don't want to deal with this, but when we met with Casper back when, they asked us to do one thing, and that was to prioritize how we felt about the golf course and what we think is important. So, with that in mind...
We have handouts.
I have handouts.
Do they have red ink on them?
Huh?
Somebody's at my house. Hold on.
So anyway, and I used what Casper gave us as a guideline, obviously. Well, I have to give one to Bill. This is how I felt about the priorities on the golf course. It doesn't mean that's the way it should stay or has to be. But I think we ought to get something to Casper and say, this is how we feel about what the priorities on the golf course should be. Great. So that's what I prepared there.
Okay, do you want us to come back next meeting and talk about this? Is that what you want?
Well, I don't. Do you think we can do it now?
I'm not. I'm like Mark. I'm not gonna. I don't want to make any decision on stuff like this till we talk to Jim.
This is basic. Well, it's so you guys out there know what I'm talking about. These are the priorities as I saw it. Number one on the golf course would be the greens.
Oh, he wants that. Okay.
Number two would be, and I described grass coverage, consistent roll, green speed, that type of thing. Tees would be number 2, fairways number 3, roughs number 4, bunkers number 5, number 6 is the clubhouse grounds, number 7 is the driving range. and then I list some things that go with each of those. Obviously, that's my personal ranking of them, but it doesn't mean that's how we would have to do it. If you guys want to take time and come back next meeting, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we should,
You got
look at this, guys, and talk about it,
Okay. Yeah.
and
I
talk
think-
to Jim about it, too, when you're doing this.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a great basic format to start from, and then we can just see if anybody else wants to add more detail or anything, but that's a great start.
I'll get you a copy.
Anything else, Ray?
That's a good starting point.
Anybody else? Okay, now it's adjourned. Sorry, Ray.
I have an extra copy too. Here.